Hi, Exiles, and welcome to the reveal episode for 0.5 Return of the Ancients here at the Pod of Exile. We are Talkative Tri, Dreamcore, Lolcohol, and Sirgog, juiced by Mobalytics, and I believe all of us are absolutely stoked for this final early access league before Path of Exile 2 launches into its full release. We are going to kick it off with the stuff that we are most excited for here. We'll talk about some of maybe the disappointment and drama later that some players are experiencing, but let's kick it off with the good stuff. So I think all of us have our most favorite big thing that's being added and most favorite smaller content piece that's being added. And I want to throw it over to Sirgog to kick us off here, man. What are you most excited about coming in 0.5?
Okay, so I want to start with the minor one. The minor one is that I think Runic Ward is going to help a bit with the life versus ES balance. The reason for this is that life builds intrinsically have more mitigation of damage, whether they've got armor or whether they've got evasion, both mitigate the amount of damage you take. Currently, the bigger pool of overall health that you get as a result of energy shield is superior to that, but Runic Ward adds the same amount to both types of builds, and potentially that ends up being something that tips the scales in favor of life a little bit in terms of EHP. So that's my minor thing. My major thing, and there were a few, I really did have a few that I wanted to think of here. The one I decided to write down on our sheet, though, is so that we don't replicate each other, is the build importer. I think this is just going to be transformative. It's going to have some problems with it. There's going to be troll builds that get circulated, and that's going to be funny as long as it doesn't happen to you. There's also going to be builds with imperfections in them that are actually good builds, but there's one step that's skipped. But overall, I think it's going to be one of the best things ever added.
Okay. Going back to the ward for just a second, is this one of the ingenious ways for grinding your games to address the life problem that people keep bringing up with lack of life on the tree or gear? What do you guys think? Is this big enough to help people out? And is this intuitive enough for players to understand they should be utilizing this with the new league mechanic and putting ward on every body armor they get constantly? What do you guys think?
I think it's a pretty interesting mechanic overall. Like, it's when it was first shown on the reveal stream, I kind of expected it to just be the same ward that we've seen in PoE1. But the way it works as like a sort of second life bar is kind of interesting. I do agree with Sirgog that it will probably bring a bit more kind of like balance towards, you know, that kind of whole life versus ES thing. But for me, that mechanic is a wait and see. Like, right now, I don't think it really seems like it might not have much of any impact at all. It kind of also depends on the power level of those skills. You know, the skills that are being introduced that you have to then spend ward to actually use. If they're really good, then most builds are going to want to have ward and like a way to actually recover that ward reliably and things like that. So yeah, I think a lot of it revolves around that.
And it won't even be a defensive layer then. It'll be an offensive
That's
resource.
my prediction. I think I'm predicting people just end up using it as a resource. Because when are you going to feel comfortable having an empty life pool? Even if you've got that little bit of water, it's just going to feel, you're going to want to like spam the life flask or something. I don't know how many people feel like they can rely on it versus having it then will be nice occasionally for those one-shot moments. But I predict probably people are going to be using it as a resource. But we're going to have to wait and see.
I mean, people use mana as a resource in conjunction with mind over mana. Mind over mana. Like, that means that you do have this tension already existing game where a defensive resource is being consumed to power spells and it works. And so I do think that that's there. But yeah, you've got a bunch of flexibility with it. People are just going to try different things. It may be that it's too good offensively and people don't use it defensively as a result, and then everything I said doesn't apply.
Lingering on ward for a little bit longer, Dreamcore, I know something that you've always been pushing for is more skills that are usable across all weapons, and obviously ward interacts with the Kalguur skills. Do you think this is grinding your game's way of pushing that weapon diversity without actually changing the way their core skill gems are designed, and maybe like testing the waters almost for this in the future? Because if I remember correctly, they're basically all spells, and that meaning any weapon can use all the Kalguur skills. There's like no limits there, right?
Yeah, I think they're experimenting a little bit there with that to see how that's going to impact like how people make builds, because you know, you kind of have to like go out of your way to actually invest into ward to then use the skill. It's not like you just slot the skill in, right? You can't use it without then having that like ward gear and a way to recover the resource and things like that. It's going to be interesting to see, because really it does come down to how powerful those skills actually end up being. The way they kind of showed them off it is almost like they're this kind of additive utility kind of style thing, but I think there are some in there that, just from what we saw from the stream there, that might be a bit more impactful than that. So yeah, I'm excited to see how they work. Just going back to the defensive aspect, we did see there, I think it was Brass Dome that got converted to have like 900 ward, right?
Yeah.
So there is going to be a way to actually build a lot of ward and basically use that as your life pool instead.
Will we get ward loop?
Yeah. I don't. It just depends on how the mechanic actually works. We don't really know much about it, right? All we know is that it depletes somewhat like life, and then we don't really know how the recovery is going to work for that resource or anything. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then and I want to talk about your major favorite, Sirgog, especially Lolcohol. You are a build maker. As a build maker, how do you think this is going to affect you and all the players that you share your builds with in Path of Exile 2?
I think hopefully what it does is it makes it easier for people to not make mistakes. And because a lot of people don't have necessarily two monitors, and it's not easy to, you know, constantly flip between. But now that you can just hover over your flask slot and put a little note there like, remember to upgrade your life flask at level 10, I think, which is really important. It's super important, but like it's also very easy to gloss over that, or someone might not read it. But if that's always popping up, then it's a lot easier, because often when people come to you where they're having a problem with their build and like, oh, I'm struggling, like the build's not doing damage, and then you pull up their POB, there's occasionally there'll be one major mistake or several major mistakes, but more often than not, it's just a dozen small mistakes that are just compounding. But hopefully this then will make it so that you've got those little reminders and making sure people take the right points on the tree. They're not forgetting things, taking things at the wrong time. I think it'll be very good for the community overall. But hopefully it's easy to implement. Did they say that we're going to be able to do it in-game and then like export it?
No.
Or do you
All out of
actually have
game.
to do coding stuff?
Yeah, it's like a loop filter where it's
I need to get
configured
like a
out of game.
boot.dev thing.
Well,
I need to start learning code.
that, or maybe Mobalytics could implement a tool that is kind of drag and drop as opposed to coding, right? Mobalytics.
There you go.
Come on, do it. Quick.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I'm pumped for the notes, especially. I always wanted the passive tree planner just to pre-plan the routes, because I don't like having something open on my second monitor like Path of Building. I don't even have it installed on my computer. I used to take like phone pictures of the passive tree route in Path of Exile 1, and I'd always, like on League launch, I'd be opening my phone, looking at the screen. I know, it's so janky, but that's what I used to do. And just having it in-game, even if I'm not even using like a Lolcohol build, right? I'm just planning my own build. Being able to sit down one night, plan out my path, and then just follow it while playing and focus purely on the game, it's going to be such a huge boon. How are you feeling about it, Dreamcore? Are you equally pumped for the build feature in-game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think there's going to be a lot of issues with it to begin with. I can just see there being so many like bugs and things going on with it where, you can basically unintentionally mislead someone really easily because like this like bit of information went in the wrong position and now it's like 10 levels, earlier. Or imagine you like tell someone to pick up a gem, but they're like 10 levels too low, right? And they're just getting confused. There's going to be a lot of that, I think, going on early on because people are going to kind of struggle getting the right guide put out because they haven't used it before, or maybe there's even just some internal bugs going on. So,
oh yeah, I'm sure it'll.
But once they've actually got it completely fleshed out, what I think is going to happen is someone is going to make a website for it. Whether that ends up being, one of the bigger sites like Mobalytics or Maxroll or something like that, someone's going to make some kind of feature for it, and then people will just be able to go on that website, make the build in there. It'll be like super, and then they can just bang, export it, and that's it. There's your file.
Yeah, and if Grind Gear Games implements the same level of, I don't know how to, like character data and stash data and stuff on their website for Path of Exile 2, like Path of Exile 1, I bet like a tool will even be on their website at some point too. Because if I'm correct, a lot of that information still is obscured, Whereas in Path of Exile 1, it's all like publicly available as long as you set your account to public, right? I think they'll add that to Path of Exile 2. Maybe with 1.0. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that seems like a 1.0 feature.
Let's hope. We're 6 or 7 months away from 1.0. There's a lot of stuff to come into the game. Okay. Moving on from that, I wanted to briefly talk about my favorite 2 features. So minor feature, 100%. It's the only time that I burst out with excitement during the live stream because I was trying to stay silent for my chat. It's the challenge feature in Path of Exile 2. I have been banging on this drum since 0.1 because of the exact reason Jonathan kind of laid out. It gives people a goal in the game, and it gives them a reason to push themselves beyond their limits. And it tells them, hey, you finish the challenges, you're done. You get this reward. Come back in 3, 4, 5 months, okay? It's so good, and I'm so glad they put it in for early access. And it looks like they haven't made it too convoluted either, like the Path of Exile 1 challenge system. It looks like it's 8 challenges. They're pretty easy to attain. One of them is identify 50 uniques. Another is fully ascend. Like, these are all things that we might take for granted as pretty easy, but I think this will push many average players who see the shiny cosmetic set to go beyond their limits and keep playing the game, and then maybe get hooked to it further, which is really cool to see them reverse course on this, because they said there's no way we're adding challenges before 1.0. And obviously they're like, okay, all right, maybe we'll reverse course on it. Do we have any other challenge enjoyers here, or am I the only 36 out of 40, 40 out of 40 guy in PoE1?
I haven't done it for so long.
What?
I don't care about challenges, but
yeah,
I usually just end up completing some of them, like just by playing normally, you know. But that I have to say, that MTX that they show off in the stream for the challenges is really good.
That is, I'm gonna go for it.
It's like I saw that and I was like, they're doing themselves a disfavor there, because it's better than the supporter packs, you know. But yeah, it is really good.
Oh, the one with the Arbiter of Divinity themed supporter pack. I think that's the name of the boss. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I thought that was like A+ to S- tier.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
I like that it was more
obviously
grounded.
Personal tastes vary.
I like the more grounded sets, honestly. And the Arbiter of Divinity set 100% is like grounded. It doesn't have flashy stuff everywhere. You can put the wings on if you want, but I like the just more metallic, sheen, shiny version. So yeah, so the challenges I think are pretty sweet. I think they're the net positive for the community. And then my number one major feature are the Atlas quest lines. 100%. Just that invention in PoE2, I think, is going to give so much more direction to such an aimless end game, and also introduce people to all these disparate systems that you used to just pop into endgame and, oh my gosh, you'd randomly get an Abyss or a Delirium, and you're like, well, what does this do? And you kind of either have to figure it out for yourself, or you have to go and Google it, right? Now, you go in one direction, you're introduced to, I presume, the NPC who kind of explains the mechanic, the storyline, all this stuff, and you're incrementally exposed to more of it. You know, with Delirium, you encounter the mirror at first, okay? And then you get the quest line, and then you get the ability to spread the fog on the Atlas, and then you fight the first boss, and then, which is Simulacrum, and then you actually get to fight Tong Mazu, it looks like. I think it's such an eloquent way to do it, and I'm so happy that they didn't abandon the Infinite Atlas, which I saw a sizable portion of the community saying, just drop it for the PoE1 Atlas. I think that would have been a mistake. What do you guys think about the introduction of quest lines?
Yeah, that was my major as well, because I think adding some kind of like static portion to the Atlas is really important. Like something that you always know will be there at the beginning when you enter maps, right? That's kind of part of the issue with the old mapping system, was you kind of started off and you were just venturing out, and like you said, it's a bit aimless. Now you can always have a plan of what you want to do. Like if you're an experienced player, you can be like, right, I'm going straight for the breach stuff, right? Maybe you want to go, you know, and just juice up your Genesis tree straight away. And that crafting looks really powerful, by the way. The Genesis tree, like being able to craft really strong jewelry, it looks like it's going to be very good. But yeah, having that like static part to the, because it's still an Infinite Atlas, right? You still have like, you can still play as much as you want, you can push out in all directions, but the whole idea of it being like static means you get the best of both worlds. You can have the fun of, exploring the Infinite Atlas, and you can have those like mysteries still to uncover. You're still going to find those maps with like special things in them and things like that, right? But you kind of have more general direction with what you want to do. Like I can go and do this first, and I can go and do that, and it's just that's definitely a better way of doing it, I think, overall. It's a good change.
Yeah, great points. It also gives you that, like you said, that completionist aspect too, where if you complete all these static things, you might just be done, and that's fine. Looks like it's going to take a sizable time. Kelly took a shot at me and said, you're going to struggle to complete all this in 50 hours. Try. And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. But I think the static points and the, like, to the south, we have King's March. And then we also have, it's not necessarily static, but it's like almost one biome that's just extending infinitely that you choose to expand out with the boat league that's essentially in game now, which is also crazy. And this opens up like so many possibilities for what's going to happen in the future. Like, I know that we're about to get this really cool update, but literally 2 years time, are we going to have like 5 more unique mechanics and static locations on the Atlas? It's gonna get absurd fast, honestly. But sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Lolcohol, did you have any other input on those Infinite Atlas quest lines?
That was also my major for the thing I'm most excited about. But how does it work once you've completed those quest lines?
Yeah.
Did they say that you're gonna find similar biomes but like further out?
You choose.
So you can redo stuff in the fortress. The fortress is, once you finish an area of the fortress, you can go back there. Mm-hmm. And I think this addresses a lot of the people that really dislike the Infinite Atlas because of the lack of agency over which tile sets you run. I also posted something in our Discord chat, the unexpected missions thing that people have missed, also about the question of agency over tile sets. If you get a mire by using a corrupted waystone, you can re-roll it. So it's no longer mire. It might still be something bad. You might get a hidden grotto, but you'll take that over mire any day. You probably do that with the worst 5 or 6 layouts. But I think
Sirgog,
the
one
fact
second.
that you can...
On that point, do you think that it's limited to other maps in that biome, or do you think it's literally you can roll any other map on that?
The exact wording is corrupted waystones open maps with 1 additional random modifier. Corrupted waystones open a random map area when used on basic maps. So outside the fortress is a basic map, I believe, and non-unique. And yeah, you can just re-roll it with that. Now that requires you to go with a specific Atlas Master. So it's not as much agency as you'd have in 1. But I think it's going to be something that will be quite a popular addition once people know about it.
Good tech.
But that addresses like the most common complaint about the Infinite Atlas. I think the one thing that I still don't like about the Infinite Atlas is the slow load time on it.
Well, hopefully that's
when you
gone.
actually just push. Yeah, let's hope. Yeah.
Did they show an example of it on the stream? Or they probably would remove the black if it was in the stream. They're like, oh, let's just cut that little section out.
It just show it. Yeah.
It's because it's so detailed. Like, have you guys ever zoomed in and like looked at the Atlas? The amount of detail on there is ridiculous. And like they're like sticking around with that as well. Like you saw in the trailer that like giant meteor coming down as part of like the expedition quest line. Like, yeah, they should have probably zoomed in there just to see that a bit more, because there is literally so much detail on the Atlas. It's crazy.
Everything's animated. It's good.
Yeah.
And now it's cinematic too. So I imagine we'll get to like see that moment actually happen. In addition to any future moments.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
They should keep that in, like the part where like all the walls come out of the ground.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just make it all feel more grounded and part of a world, and so there's a point to it. I'm most excited for this, 100%.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we could speak about this forever, right? Mm-hmm. I was gonna also mention like the crafting stuff, but we can keep speaking about endgame Atlas stuff if you want, but I'm pivoting my major now to the new crafting stuff, because that is question mark cool. It's weird because they say they don't want to make things too complicated, and they don't have lists, but we're adding 160 runes, and you go, excuse me, like isn't a list a bit easier? But we're gonna have to see. I think I understand what they meant. I know I'm hard pivoting to something completely different here, but the when I looked at the systems they have, they seem to be suggesting, it gets me excited because you think, oh, there might be like some crafting puzzles to solve here, and then that's fun for people to watch and fun to explain and make guides on, and that's gonna be my major. If you want to pivot back to Atlas, we can go back there.
So you're talking about Runes of Eldur, right?
Yeah, the Runes of Eldur. It feels like this announcement was so gigantic that I feel like they scraped the surface and it still took over an hour. Where you just, I watched it back and it was just so much stuff that by the time you are like 10 minutes later into the video, you've now forgotten about that, and there's this thing, and now you go on this person's stream, they're talking about something, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So the crafting looks cool, I think, but it's just another thing to add to the list of something I'm excited for.
Which part of the crafting? Because there's so much.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's like I'm excited to just explore it and figure it out. Same with the endgame Atlas. I think what I'm most excited about with the Atlas is doing all the quests 100%, but then seeing how it feels after you've done all the quests. Because I think for probably the majority of players, they're going to do the quest lines and then be like, okay, cool, I'll do the challenges and I'm done. But for long-term players, I'm very curious what the post-quest line endgame is going to feel like. And I hope it's going to be good.
Well, you're going to have 200 and something points on your Atlas, so if you're going and exploring, looking for citadels, those maps are going to feel pretty juicy.
Yeah.
And let's pivot back toward endgame away from crafting for a moment. The notables on the Atlas tree. Obviously, we can allocate the entire Atlas tree now, which when I first heard that, my initial reaction was like, ugh, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then they said, oh, but notables have choices. So it's actually like you are making choices, but there might only be 10 to 15 of them to start. Dreamcore, what's your opinions on that then? You kind of had that initial like derision to it that I did?
Yeah, I really dislike the whole idea of like allocating the whole thing. Them having multiple choices though on some of the nodes is definitely good. I think they need to do more of that so that there's just like more. You don't really want this thing where take a look at the PoE1 Atlas tree, right? You have like different strategies you can use, whatever you want to do in the end game, right? Whether you're farming blight or whatever, it doesn't matter what you're going for. Like your Atlas tree is going to be different to someone else's because you're specializing into this one thing. I think the idea of like just allocating an Atlas tree and it's all the same and everyone has got the same thing is basically all that is just you now just have a more difficult end game than before, but everyone's still playing the same game, everyone's still experiencing the same thing, right? I think having that like agency to really customize your end game and make it your own, like, and actually be able to play exactly what you want to. They are. I did look at some of the notables, by the way, like the multiple choice. They are actually really quite impactful. So, I think that is gonna add to that quite a bit. So that, like, initially I had that exact reaction. I was like, nah, that's not it. and then when they had the like multiple choices on the node, I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing, like that. And then of course they have the Masters of the Atlas on top, which is like an extra layer of customization, which you can pick on a per area basis, like when you actually open the map. So I actually think they've done a pretty good job with that overall. Like it's a system that's on the surface feels different to the PoE1 way, but I think that they've made some. There's very deliberate choices there to have like a bit of customization going on.
They were a little precautionary. I think they knew a lot of people would have that reaction. And then there's also the other systems that currently exist in the game, like tablets. Obviously, that's another layer of customization that we have, and those are kind of randomized, and we do have some choice there too. And now tablets in the end game work as blockers for other league mechanics. They talked about that in the Q&A. Well, like if you put in 3 Delirium tablets, no other league mechanic will spawn. It'll only be Delirium. Or if you do like Delirium Abyss, it'll just be Delirium in Abyss. Isn't that that's interesting? It kind of changes the way the end game plays, and it's only a limit of 3 mechanics now in a map, as opposed to I think it was 4 before, and they could randomly spawn.
Yeah, that's a massive change that's gone under the radar.
Yeah. So And as they expand out, I don't know, just think about the future. We got 15 league mechanics. Oh, you got to choose 3. Oh boy, that's gonna be, oh, man, it's gonna be wild.
I mean, that's kind of already a thing in PoE1 because you don't want to play the mechanics that you're not juicing. Like generally speaking, if you see a mechanic that's not juiced, you just run past it because it's just a complete waste of time. Think about like Legion without speccing into it, for example, in PoE1, it just drops absolutely nothing. So just generally speaking, like I don't think it's that. It sounds worse than it is, basically, in terms of like actual gameplay application.
I agree with you.
Some of them are intrusive though.
Go for it.
Some of the mechanics are more intrusive though as well. Like if you have Ilith appear and this will be Path of Exile 1 now, but also Path of Exile 2 in the future, and it's one of the Breach Hive encounters, that does actually change the map a bit. Particularly Path of Exile 1 Ritual, I think, is the most intrusive. When you're early in progression and your chaos resistance is not positive and might even be quite negative, at that point, those encounters are brutal and you would love to block them on the Atlas. You often do. And this will give you a bit more agency over whether you encounter them or not. And that's something that you're not actually clicking the ritual.
Another endgame agency addition too. Love to hear your guys' take on. They're really going back toward that initial, I think, the design philosophy for Path of Exile 2, where certain mechanics reward certain classes of item. For example, ritual. Now, what's in the ritual altars only? Unique items, omens, path to pinnacle. The breach tree. What does it focus on? Currency and jewelry. That's it. What do you guys think about them starting to silo out stuff more? So you are specifically, when you go to breach really fast, you might have the ability to max out your jewelry first and then own the jewelry market and everything, right? Whereas if you go to ritual, okay, maybe you'll get some of the juicy new uniques or some coveted uniques faster. What do you guys think about that ability to specialize in these different reward types now, as opposed to before?
I think that's very important. We saw that last league when they took fossils out of other league mechanics and just put it into Delve. And he immediately made Delve, there was such a good incentive because fossils are now quite a bit rarer and quite a bit more valuable. So now there's an incentive to do that mechanic, which is a really fun mechanic, which previously very few people did, or they would just kind of do it to go as deep as possible. But I think it's important that they don't do too much of that cross whatever, where there's this is dropping from there. And also, yeah, like you say, even for SSF players, if someone asks now, how do I farm, XYZ unique, you can say Ritual's really good for that. Like you can go do Ritual and Breach. Oh, I was so grateful when I looked at the Breach tree and I was like, please don't be the exact same thing. And they're like, it's just for jewelry. It's like, perfect. Rather, because the moment you do it like in PoE1, it immediately invalidates several other systems. Right. But they've like condensed it down. It's just really good for making a specific kind of jewelry. And there'll be people who do that, and you can only get that stuff there. So if you want to get it there, if you're playing SSF, you can get it there. If you want to corner the market, you can do that over there. So I think it's very good that they do that. And I hope that they keep those identities for the different mechanics.
Yeah, merging them together, like how it was in Path of Exile 1 a long time ago. I don't think is the way. I like that they're doing that in both games, honestly, that they're splitting out stuff more and more. Like the only problem. Oh, go for it.
I want an in-between point because, let's just start with Delve, right? In Path of Exile 1, actually, most dense fossils, the ones people really want to use, and most shuddering fossils are not rewards from the Delve mines. They're rewards from Harvest. Because you go into Delve, you get a jagged fossil, you re-roll it, and it becomes a shuddering fossil, and you're happy. That, I think, is a problem in Path of Exile 1 at the moment. And that's one of those things where they put in these things because solo self-found players request them, and they end up distorting things in Trade League. I think it'd be very different if that craft didn't exist, or if it was priced at a point that was, I don't know, not particularly useful in Trade League. But right now, yeah, Harvest is where most of the top fossils come from in 1. But I want a situation, and this is very hard to engineer. I want a situation where the best spot to get Delve rewards is from delving, but you can get a tiny amount of them from other things. And it's just something cool that can come up. You know, you go and you kill Atsuri, and most of the time you're not going to get a fossil because she's not tied to fossils. But once in a blue moon, she drops a particular fossil. And it's just this cool additional drop you can get that drops anywhere from any monster in the game. That's, I think, the best case scenario. They currently have that implemented with heist blueprints, and I think it works pretty well. If you want heist blueprints, you spec for them on the passive tree in Path of Exile 1. If you don't really care about them, then they're one of the rarest types of drops that can come from regular monsters.
They kind of do this with Path of Exile 2 with Incursion or the Val Temple, where they have like specific rooms that have specific rewards and all that. Like, I wonder if that's something that they could just try to introduce more, the cross-pollination, where it's not something that's guaranteed, but it's something that can randomly spawn, like you're saying. So it's that, oh crap moment, like, oh wow, I'm not even farming this, but I get this highly coveted, valuable reward once in a blue moon from this. I think that's a cool, like, not world drop moment, like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. I don't know what to call it, but I think that's one of the things that Path of Exile 2 does sometimes miss. It's like you're just killing monsters and you get something really, really cool from said monsters. I feel like in Path of Exile 2, Divine Orbs are really the only drop that I feel you get that from, like, general mapping. Everything else is relegated to its specific mechanics, like pinnacle bosses or farming specific content. I think more of those oh crap moments when you're just generally killing stuff would be good for the game, where you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. I love that.
So 040, it was only Hinakora's locks and mirrors and the top exceptional bases in the regular pool.
Right.
Divine Orbs were not loot by the end of that league. Perfect Chaos Orbs, Perfect Exalts were not loot. They were just crumbs. They were the role that Chaos Orbs normally play. That's an unusual environment though. And I feel like if we didn't have a complete mess of an economy in 040, there would have been a lot more regular chances for regular items to be loot. You also had the Vertex. The Vertex was the only unique that was semi-chase. You know, so you could get a headhunter off a monster and you're like, oh wow, I just got the second best global drop unique. And then you go and you price check it and you're like, oh, that is a 1/50th of what I need in order to save up for a single attempt at the Trial Master.
Yeah. 04
Did it
was
get
kinda
that
cooked.
bad?
It was one
got
div,
that bad,
dude.
yes.
Headhunter is
Headhunter
one
was
Divine Orb
1.4
right now. Go
div,
buy
and
one.
Trial Master actually got to 100
Oh,
because Divines
Wow.
weren't loot.
yeah.
And one div then was basically like a transmute, that league, toward the tail end. Yeah.
Chaos Orb, realistically. Like they had some value. I think if you went with Path of Exile 1, the purchasing power of an Exalted Orb before they made them 20 times more common. So you remember when they used to be like 15 Chaos quite often? The comparison point that I'm using is desirable boss fragment sets. So in Path of Exile 1, it was typically a fair trade to turn in 50 Exalted Orbs for a set of tokens to fight the Uber Maven, which was at the time the most valuable. It wasn't a trade people would do. People would do it in Chaos Orbs or Divine Orbs. But Exalted Orbs, it was a fair trade. In Path of Exile 2, the worst it got for the most desirable boss, which was the Trial Master, was 100 div. 110.
See, I won't miss the snake. I'm glad the snake is gone. Sorry, it's dead.
Trod on Snap.
Yeah.
Should have trod on Snap much earlier.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's unhappy about that change. Like,
That's why I'm also
that sucked.
I'm a little.
Some individuals will be, but
Oh, yeah.
the game is better for GGG saying no. And honestly, I dropped the league. I dropped the league very soon after the second wind league.
Yeah.
It was just like when it was clear that it was just the same. It was just like, nah, 040 is dead patch now.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
That's why it's nice. Hey, they're adding so many new endgame systems. Hopefully, they will try to suss out any absolutely busted strats with this extra 3 weeks of testing time. Am I right, guys? There's not going to be a snake of 0.5. That's not going to happen. Because that was rough.
Surely.
That was rough.
Surely. With the chaining explosions, there's definitely nothing broken's going to happen there. With like compounding rewards. I don't know. Hopefully this time they're not on holiday. That's all that matters. Because last time they could have fixed it, but they were on holiday. Yep. So
don't worry, they won't be on holiday for the early access leaving in December either, guys. They won't be on holiday.
What they
Please.
really need to do is have a setup where there is always a manager that on duty that has the authority to get an emergency balance change done, and they need to receive emails when certain unacceptable amounts of loot are generated inside a single instance. So you might say that when there's temples that are being run that are dropping 17 divines, that generates a notice. Hey,
Right.
this isn't yet over the problem threshold, but watch this. And then when temples get improved a little bit and they start generating 45 divines, it's like, okay, this person has the authority to make an emergency change to it. And that should just be someone 24/7 on. They'll pick up so many duping issues, so many issues like Path of Exile 1's divination card isolation and burial chambers issue with was it Brother's Gift, the 5 divine orb card that you could get 100% drop rate on of certain monsters for a period. That I actually considered an exploit and banned people over it. But Snake Temple was as bad as, actually Snake Temple was worse than that.
Yeah, Snake Temple was absolutely ridiculous, and we actually don't even know that much about what's happening with the Val Temple, except that snaking is gone and reward rooms are buffed. I'm really interested to, man, the patch notes in 2 weeks are gonna be so fascinating, guys, because so much is in the dark right now. We know all the big content coming, but any and all balance, really, except for like what leech changes, is just shrouded in mystery right now. So that's gonna be probably apocalyptic, but it'll be hilarious to watch too. Okay, we lingered on the Atlas and stuff for a little while. Dreamcore, did you have your major and minor favorites? I know you said the quests were also probably your favorite major thing added. Anything else to introduce?
The minor, so that is definitely the major thing. The minor thing is absolutely the unique items. Before you change, so initially, like, just to sort of, you know, put away this question was just going to be one thing that we were excited for, and mine was definitely going to be the uniques. But since Path of Exile patches always come with unique items, right? Like it's not like it's a major thing, but there are a lot of them, right? There's like, I think they said 40 plus unique items. So it's partly all the new ones that are coming into the game, but it's also the fact that they're adding a mechanic where you can basically upgrade a unique into like an end game version for weapons. I don't know how impactful that's going to be. Some of them looks pretty good, but some of the uniques that they actually just show off in the reveal, just like the new uniques, right? Not the upgraded ones. Like for example, the Raven Righteous Fire Staff looks really cool. We don't know how. It's hard to say how good that's actually going to be. It's always the case with like the reveal stream showcasing one of these like really niche things. It's very hard to know how strong that's going to be when you actually invest into it properly and have like some other mechanics kind of intertwining with it, right? So that's a really interesting one, the Raven Staff. The other one is the mana stacking mace, right? That I think it comes from Expedition. I assume it's like the Runes of Alder, like the pinnacle boss. The one that converts all of your fire damage into cold, and then you gain added cold based on your maximum mana. That mace is really interesting, but once again, it goes back to the whole gem levels thing, right? I don't know if you guys caught in the Q&A, they are going to be nerfing gem levels, but we don't really know the extent to which they're going to be nerfing gem levels just yet. What they said is that they're going to take gem levels off the top, and then they're going to shift all of the tiers up, which to me sounds like basically currently we have a +7 gem levels on like a two-handed martial weapon. And that's like the lowest weight mod by quite a margin. And I think we'll probably see like +5 being the highest now, and then that will be the same weight as what the +7 used to be, and the other ones are just being shifted up. Because right now the way it works is there's all of the modifiers are just, you know, a fixed amount of gem levels, but then there's one in the middle which is a variable. It's +5 to 6. So I think they'll probably remove that and just like iron them out a little bit. So you probably expect to have less gem levels like earlier on in progression. Like where you would expect to have maybe 3 or 4, you may only have 1 or 2 now, and then it would kind of scale up to there. But that change is going to be really important to see whether unique items, especially in the weapon slots, are actually going to be usable or not. Because that's kind of how it's been in PoE2, where you know they can make all of these interesting unique items all they want, like the weapons and stuff, but they're just never really competitive with with crafted weapons. So I think that mace, the mana stacking mace, is a really good example of it, because the numbers are there definitely for that one, but we'll have to wait and see.
I hope they go in that direction, because man, do these uniques once again kind of go back to the OG promise of Path of Exile 2, where the uniques will be visually changing, gameplay changing items. And so we have the Raven Staff that you brought up, the Frost Mace, and they haven't showed the item, but there's like a Captain America shield, I think, where you literally must replace certain, I think, mace abilities, because we see a throw. We also see a slam with the shield. I don't know if it gives you your own set of abilities so you can become Captain America, or if it literally just says, hey, you can use mace skills with this shield now or something like that. Like it looks like an exciting set of 40.
I think that's the shield from the Breach boss. I think that's what it is. It
Yeah,
looks
it
like
probably
that
is.
shield.
Oh, from
Yeah.
Tool and
How do you-
Ash?
Yeah.
Because
It's
a
like
lot
a
of the
shield.
uniques feel very build defining. It's almost you find this unique and then you build your whole character around it. And of course, those items do exist in PoE1, but not in the same way where it activates some new skill or some new mechanic or some hidden support. And I think that's really cool. I think that's very interesting. Especially, okay, I don't want to pivot too hard, but did you guys see the rune that you can? Is it a rune that you can extract a unique power? What?
Only from Kalguur uniques, though.
Oh, only from Kalguur
People,
uniques.
I saw
Okay.
some misinfo spreading where people are like, "Oh my gosh, Headhunter!" No.
On a helmet, yeah. Oh, okay. But that's very cool.
But it's still cool.
And
Yeah,
it's a different
that's what we wanna
design
watch.
philosophy. Because previously it felt like the sort of like upside downside thing was something that appeared on uniques very often, and they absolutely are build defining uniques in PoE1 with like I'm trying to think of like Shavs as a really old example where you build your character around that, but not in the same way where you see these people playing like Last Lament, and now it's like I'm building my character around that. I think that's cool because now they can say here's a new unique, and it's not just a new unique, it's like here's a new build that you can play.
Yeah.
I think that's very exciting.
I would say the best example in PoE1 is probably Dissolution of the Flesh, because you need to like build your entire character around how that interacts with pretty much everything in the game, right? But I think that is Path of Exile 2's massive strength when it comes to like having these really unique builds, is that they can kind of lean into that whole aspect of like ascendancies granting skills and unique items granting skills that you can't get anywhere else. And then you really do have this kind of truly unique feeling build that just separates itself from everything else, right? Now, obviously, as time goes on, they probably are going to have more and more mechanics that end up being very similar, right? Because I can see, like, for example, the Raven Staff. Right now, we haven't got Righteous Fire in the game yet, but maybe many years in the future, we're going to have Righteous Fire and something else which is very similar, maybe like a cold version of Righteous Fire or whatever, right? And they're all very similar in that kind of aspect. But I think as of right now, it is pretty cool that they're kind of introducing these very unique mechanics that are tied to ascendancies or items.
Yeah, I think the ascendancies, they really nailed some of those as well lately.
The two new ones, I mean, they opened up a lot of new play styles. When I saw Crowbell as a minion, I mean, you just instantly knew. You were like, they actually did it. They did it.
I just want to know what happens with pathing through doorways with that. Like, can you bring your pet through like Jakani's Machinarium in Act 3?
He crouches.
Door stuck. Yeah, you can't get through.
Maybe he turns into a wisp, like a spirit, as he goes through, and then pop,
clever.
pops back up. There you go. There you go.
GG. Employ this guy.
The,
He's got
what
the
is
right
it?
idea.
What's the code? If go under door, turn wisp. Once out of door, turn into boss model again. I think it's as simple as that. Something like that. You know, just a couple lines of code. You're right, though. I wonder what that's going to look like. That's going to look really funny. I guess since we're on
like
the point,
there's definitely some things from other games that I can think of where it would be catastrophic. Like I'm thinking, being a bit of a TTRPG nerd, I'm thinking Pathfinder 2e, large creatures indoors, and like you're trying to get through a door, and it's like every square that you want to move through it, you have to. It's difficult terrain, and it's like the amount of movement that you need to get through a single door as a large creature, which is just just the sort of size of an ogre. It's ridiculous.
Right. I play a Minotaur in my brother-in-law's D&D campaign, and I couldn't like go through this entire dungeon. Essentially, it was just like dead on arrival, essentially, because I'm size large. Oh, it was frustrating. But, you know, I wanted to play Minotaur, so That's on me. That's just on me. On this topic of build defining uniques and ascendancies and everything, I want to skip ahead just for a moment because there was a lot of initial discussion, I think, in the community of some loud voices who were upset that this patch did not introduce the duelist or swords or just a new weapon in general, kind of saying there are no new play styles. It's all focused on endgame. I do feel it's important to just kind of talk about because there's obviously a lot. We don't have the game yet, but there are obviously so many new play styles introduced, right, guys? What was your take on all this feedback that GGG initially got after swords were not revealed to be coming? I'd love to hear it. I know Lolcohol is champing at the bit to respond to this.
I don't even know if I want to say. I'm sure. Where do these people come from? Like, who are they? What are you talking about? I don't understand.
If that's an honest question, so my chat was actually kind of, shall I say, toxic? I'm going to call you guys toxic.
I saw
Sorry,
that.
chat. So what I think happened here is I think a lot of people play Path of Exile 2. They came to Path of Exile 2. They might not play the end game. They might not care about the end game. They just want a new shiny toy to play with, and none of the new shiny toys satisfy them. They want this one particular shiny toy, and they really thought it was coming, and it didn't come, so they're taking it out on everything else. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of silly. Sorry, guys.
They're going to be eternally disappointed, though.
Right.
There's almost a side of me that, like, I kind of get it, but at the same time, if that's your reaction, where you're like, I'm skipping the league because no new sword came out, I don't think you're going to like this game long term. And therefore, why would GGG cater to you if you are only going to come back when there is a new weapon? And once full launch and all the classes are out, there's not going to be new weapons constantly. And I've seen a lot of weird comments like, oh, it's just going to be the same the same skills as last league. But it's like, dude, firstly, have you played like all the skills? There's already tons of skills. There's tons of ascendancies. And they added 30 new runic skills and supports. Like, there's almost like a misunderstanding that the weapon is the thing. It's like, no, it's like the skills and the build, and they're adding that stuff. That stuff is there.
So we don't have patch notes.
We don't even have patch notes.
Like, I had a bunch of people commenting on my video that exactly like that. Like, it's going to be the exact same game again, but we don't have patch notes. And by the way, like, I hope you guys are prepared because the patch notes are going to be an absolute nerf apocalypse. Like, I already know it. Everyone knows it deep down. Okay, big nerf apocalypse coming in, and it's needed as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see that because they want to get the game in a better state before 1.0, right?
Okay, getting even more controversial. Are you sure about that, Dreamcore? Like, I do think stuff will be nerfed. Okay, but there was a line from Mark, okay, that I totally disagreed with. I think he said something like, there are some top end stuff that needs to be nerfed, but we're generally okay with, streamers or top end players annihilating bosses in 8 seconds because the average player takes like 2 minutes to kill a boss. Okay. And they think that's okay. That is a 15 to 1 difference. Really that is 15 times like short. Is that out of context? That we said, Sirgog?
No. I'm saying that was. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying like it's.
I feel like that should be shrunk. I do.
I've discussed this before though. I think it is very difficult for them to balance the game for people because they're trying to make this game approachable for new players, right? And it's very, very difficult to balance the game for new players versus people who know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
Like people who are just resetting, right? And they've played the game, they've gone through the game over and over again on all sorts of different builds and things like that. I was talking about it a little bit in my video before the reveal about how, the whole gem levels thing kind of exacerbates the issue a little bit there because it's you have this is an ARPG, right? You have the luck factor, and there has to be a luck factor there, by the way, because that's kind of how these games make their fun, right? You need that to be there. But the difference between a new player and an experienced one is like making your own luck, basically. You make your own luck because you have those opportunities to actually be lucky, and then you end up with something that's like very, very powerful. That's how you get those people who are taking 5 seconds to kill a boss versus, the 2 minutes of a new player who didn't make their own luck, didn't just naturally get lucky, and now they're just kind of like slogging through the boss fight because they don't have a very good weapon, they don't have very good support gem choices, things like that. I do think it's really hard for them to balance between those two things. I definitely think they can make things better. Like I said, like slimming down those gem level modifiers is a big one. And there's other examples like that as well. But it's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult to balance that out.
I think another really big one, that I hope they nailed, it sounds like they wanted to, is the path to these pinnacle boss fights. Sometimes the length between, you getting to end game and then fighting these bosses was so long that you didn't encounter the boss until your character was able to trivialize the boss. And I think this is something that they specifically said they wanted to address, where that first fight against Pinnacles, the first set of Pinnacles, should be kind of an upward battle, even for more experienced players. Like, I hope they nail that. I really, really do. Because I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to boom these bosses, on the third, fourth time that you're fighting them, right? Just annihilate them. But that first experience in a new league, when you have a fresh character, I don't know, being forced to engage with the mechanics of some of these, they look sick boss fights, I think is only beneficial. I don't know. I think a lot of people disagree, and that you should be able to trivialize them instantly. But
I think as soon as you can trivialize things, the fight in question gives no loot. That is, or almost no loot, because it becomes the people who do hyper professionalized boss killing can get a whole bunch of them backed up to do one after another after another. There are some fights in Path of Exile 1 in particular that have a lot of friction against that. You've got like the Shaper and Uber Shaper come to mind there. There's a lot of friction that slows it down. That's one solution, but it's never fun.
Right.
Otherwise, if encounters like the Uber Searing Exarch, the Uber Eater of Worlds in Path of Exile 1 are just disastrous encounters, because the value of what you get from it is just suppressed by the fact that there are people doing 50 of the fight an hour. Not just 50, 75 of the fight an hour. It's one of the consequences. The smoother trading is, the more problematic that discrepancies in how the more problematic trivializing content becomes.
Mm-hmm. I think this is, I think it's going to get into a scenario where, like, someone like myself, I think I'm just going to try to like make my own fun essentially with it. Like, I won't nerf myself, right? But like, I think I'm going to play SSF this league because I want to not trade for super strong items and trivialize all this stuff, especially the first time. Like, I want to go in blind. I want to try to experience all the mechanics myself for the first time. So maybe it's kind of in that space, In ARPGs, it's kind of like a sandbox, and in a sandbox, you do have to try to do the thing, like make your own fun, essentially. Like, what are you gonna do? I think I'm gonna really try that this league with all these new toys and see how it goes. But man, I will be a little dejected when I see the top Reddit thread of somebody going in for the very first Arbiter of Divinity fight and killing him in 4 seconds. I will be like, no, this is so sad. It's going to happen though, right?
I hope not.
For sure.
But it will, yeah. I don't mind that kind of speed during the campaign, but yeah, when it comes to doing your first Pinnacle bosses, killing it in like 5 seconds, does that happen that often? I guess kind of now with the current progression, it does.
Arbiter and Ziri last league, for me, it happened.
Oh yeah, no, those are like instant. I don't even know what they do.
I know.
I mean, the Arbiter, yeah, but I wonder how that's going to work with the multiple quest lines, because as you progress through one quest line, you're going to do that boss, and now you're going to be not over leveled, but then you're going to complete that and then go to, like, let's say Abyss and do that one. Does it scale with map?
No, it's like
Tier?
there's
Yeah,
the
the minimum
tutorial
lifespan
boss,
tier, isn't it?
and then there's the second level of the boss. There's 2 levels now, I believe.
Okay. So there'll be one where it's like, presumably, it'll assume that you are like level 80, and the next one will assume you level, I don't know, like hopefully like 95, 96 or something like that, where it's pretty tough. Yeah.
Wow, that would be pretty
Again,
tough, bro.
that's you just pointed out there, like that's exactly what's going to happen. Like you go and do your first mechanic, right? Let's say you do Breach. Like the first boss you encounter will be correct in terms of like the level estimation. But then when you go and do the Delirium quest, or you go and do whatever quest, you're going to be like much higher level, because you've had to go, you've gone and done all the Breach stuff. Now you're going over to Delirium, but the way how that has to be set up, it has to assume that you're accessing that content as your first content. That's kind of how they have to do it. So the quest version of the boss is always going to be easy, I think.
The key, I believe they said this in the Q&A, the key, the first key version has a minimum waystone level though too. So I don't think it's going to, I don't think it will be like really low. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but there's like pristine waystones that are required to open certain places. So I don't know if they're going to change the way that tiers work on waystones.
There was ancient waystone as well, right? Ancient.
So maybe they're doing like waystone, pristine, and then ancient, like as like the 3 tiers now instead of the colors.
How is that different to just like adding tier 16 to 20?
Numbers are boring. Numbers are not thematic, Sirgog. Okay.
Oh no, do you think there's a name for each one? From tier 1 to 15?
No.
Imagine.
No. I mean, it could be white, yellow, and red.
Yeah, it's probably white, yellow, and red.
I think the reason why they added that minimum waystone level to the bosses is because they already discussed that in the Q&A, that like you could just get there and try and do the bosses on like, you know, tier 3 waystones. They didn't want that, so they wanted you to actually progress a little bit before you actually were able to do that content.
Yeah. On this for a second, do we all know what we're gonna try to go for first? Do you guys have like a initial plan? Like, do you want to go for the breach, a blob first, or like me? I kind of want to go to the fortress first and immediately.
I want to go to the fortress first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then clear cauldron. Yep.
I want to do.
The fortress makes the most sense, I think, because
Atlas
the fortress is you want the Atlas points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But in order to do much in the fortress, don't you need to do like some things outside it? That was the sense that I had, was that like you'd go to the fortress, you'd work towards the breach quadrant of the fortress, then you'd need to do a breach outside to
you got to ping
progress.
pong.
Maybe I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I think you have to ping pong to progress. I think that's what it's gonna be like. Although, don't freaking know until we get in game. But I think you gotta like pair it with, you know, the fortress and then the next mechanic. I'm gonna go for Abyss.
You think Abyss? What about the new expedition mechanic though? Don't you have to do that next?
I'm on a boat. Dude, I'm on a boat.
Yeah.
I'm on a boat. I don't like placing the explosives. Is that nitpicky? Like, I feel like that's such gimmicky. I don't like spending the time.
But they've reworked it, remember? They've reworked it.
How do you guys feel about that, by the way? How do you feel about the fact that they've like introduced a new league, and then the league is actually just like an update to an old league in the end game? Like it,
I feel scammed.
It gets like absorbed
harder.
No. I'm saying, like, just generally speaking, is this the first time we've had a league where like the gameplay changes from the early game to the end? Like it's
327 Path of Exile 1.
Which one is that? Is that Keepers?
Keepers,
yeah.
No, but but I think what Dream means is like there are different quests that you get, like Act 1, Act 3, and then is it Act 4 or is it Endgame, where it literally unlocks like new mechanics sequentially
of
right?
the
And
thing.
crafting
I think that's
systems.
Brilliant.
I think that's what
cool.
Mark was explaining. You know,
right?
I meant more so like the initial encounters. You're like you find the thing, right? You find the remnant, and then it's like spawning a bunch of monsters around it, and then depending on how many symbols you've got, it respawns the monsters, right? Then in the end game, I think they said from Act 4 onwards, that mechanic rolls into Expedition, and Expedition is then like you find the remnants in the Expedition and you blow them up, right? And the actual gameplay, I assume, is different because the monsters are then all gaining the modifiers in the chain, and it's actually just a different
And then there's the
league
grand
becomes something different, basically.
That's true. I like it.
I'm a fan, and
I don't mind it. Yeah,
and there's over 30 new monsters in Runes of Eldur. So that's
Did you see the cute little blue ones?
There's know, how exciting! I hope they have some sick mechanics that I have to engage with. But no on death effects. I swear, GGG. If the grubs explode on death, I will.
No,
leave behind little blue puddles. You know.
Yeah. And I mean, they've reworked all of them. I think, didn't they say once you finish the quest line, then it like reapplies the mechanic to, is it to a different area or the same area or like a series of maps that are like attached, but then the mechanic also changes?
Bro, I don't know.
There's so much. Like I said, like like I said, there's so much that you watch it and like kind of eventually goes in one ear and out the other, but you're just excited for all of it.
Like I was so overwhelmed.
How do you guys feel about them? Like how do you guys feel about the reveal where they just kind of like, I don't want to say over-explain things, but that's kind of what it felt like. Like I feel like they go into too much detail with the mechanics.
They revealed too much
in the reveal.
I think they revealed way too much.
Yes,
I totally agree
I
with
also think, like with the quest lines where they're like, and then you go find Gwenin, and then you go find Medved, and then you go here, and you're like, why are you spoiling it? Please.
Yeah,
I
didn't like that too much.
It was.
I'm all right with. I'm all right with them. Like, just like you've got to factor in who's the audience of the live stream. It's moderately enfranchised players and a small number of completely new people. But it's mostly the enfranchised, moderately enfranchised players, and then just because it tends to be top on Twitch, it attracts some interest as well. And like it is going to include more casual players that have played the game before, and also some that have never played the game before. And they've just got to try and balance it. It's quite different to if they do a post on the GGG site that says, here's a deep dive into exactly how the Abyss quest chain works.
I think the other thing is also they needed to kind of illustrate the scope of these quest lines. And if they were just to say like, oh, there's a new expedition quest line, and you're like, okay, cool, it's probably going to be like 2 maps. Because they didn't do it for all of them. They didn't go into as much depth with all of them, did they? It was just really expedition that they didn't reveal everything, but they wanted to show like it's like a quest. So I suspect it did feel a bit unusual for them to be spoiling so much, but at the same time, I guess it does make sense because now you understand like this is a real proper endgame mini storyline.
The only part I had a real problem with was showing the pinnacle bosses. I really hated that. Yeah. I liked the hint at them. Basically, they show you lowering into the arena or something like that. Even that I feel like is too much, because
that would be
when
cool.
I first encountered the Arbiter of Ash and you open up the gate and all of a sudden the elevator goes down, it's one of those moments that you remember in gaming. And I feel like a lot of these moments in this expansion are possible again, where it's like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm going to fight Tang Mazu and that giant, giant head. By the way, doesn't that look like the Maven fight, guys? Am I crazy? It's the Nucleus and the Maven. That's the Tang Mazu fight. I swear it looks like Maven. But like all these things, I like to see them in game first, which is why I try to remain as unspoiled as possible. Like no Reddit, no boss fights the first couple days, couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna fight them myself. Or, I'll fight them in a month like I did with that Ziri and instantly blow her up.
I'm sure there'll be enough surprises and things to stumble upon that you're not going to feel like... Probably once we get in game, we're going to be like, oh, I thought that was a spoiler. Like, look at this and this and this and this. Like, I had no idea. It might just be that is just a little slice off the top, but it seems like so much.
Arbiter of Divinity, guys, it's got to be it's got to be such a good boss fight. Like, I am expecting something crazy with that. Like, they've had 1.5 years to make a new pinnacle boss fight for PoE2. I think we saw a couple of seconds of the fight, just like one attack sequence. I feel like that's going to be a well designed Mark boss fight.
I wanted to make people angry.
That was an awesome strike sequence that it had too. Yeah. Like this visceral spear forward backward swing, then the forward beam. It was really cool.
The chest beam,
It's
like
it's like a Dark Souls combo.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like the introduction as well. The start of the stream, it was like almost like a comic book style introduction to that boss, like with it like turning around and you get like the reveal at the same time as the audio cue and stuff. It was very cool.
Camille and the audio team cooked so hard. I mean, they just do it. It's like, it just fits. It always fits.
The audio in the game is phenomenal. It is like beyond words good. Those guys do such an exceptional job. I don't want to bring up D4, but one of the things that the combat feels so like floaty, and a lot of it has to do with the audio. There is obviously to do with the animation, but when I played D4 recently, the first thing I've noticed was like it doesn't feel like I'm hitting stuff really, or like the impacts don't feel that good. And then you go to PoE and you hit stuff and you can feel it. You can physically feel it, and a lot of that's audio. So good job.
Second best sound in the business, second only to Sandfall Entertainment, I reckon.
Who's Sandfall?
Clair Obscur.
Expedition 33.
I thought
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Nah, I haven't played
And
it,
that's
so
the music. Like that's Camille is
Music?
amazing as well, but E33's music is just off the charts. Like that could actually be a musical.
And it was the dude's first musical track. So I swear if he just dips after that, I will be pissed. He can't do it. Got to do another banger. Oh, what's his name? Lorien Testard, I think.
Yeah. I sent that to someone that I have no musical interest in common with, and they were blown away by it.
Yep, it's beautiful. My wife even likes it, so I know it's really, really good. If we can listen to it in the car on a 3-4 hour long car ride, so she's totally good with the video game soundtrack. Okay, Lolcohol. Your minor thing. What's the minor addition you're excited for? Since the major,
Whoa.
I think was
Are we
Atlas. We're still we've hopped around.
Yeah, we're
guys.
still on
It's
that.
fine. No.
The minor thing for me is the campaign stuff, the little campaign
Ooh.
clues. I love that. There's quite a few in PoE1, and they're always so good to learn about, but it sounds like they have been very deliberately added, and I think that's great, especially for players who are looking to learn the campaign or players who might just notice these things. It's really fun, and it makes going through the campaign multiple times more efficient, and it makes you feel cool when you know this stuff and you can tell people about this stuff. So I love that. That is my minor.
I loved how Jonathan explained it. I think it was in the Legendary Drops interview. He was like, you always not never. I think he said, we don't always take player feedback literally, but we take it seriously. And they constantly see like, oh, campaign so long, so bad. I don't like the campaign. And he's like, well, we don't want to shorten it. Okay, we don't want people to be able to skip it. So let's help make it just smoother for people. Let's think of a way to do that. And this was their solution essentially, which they had already done in Path of Exile 1, obviously. I feel like the ones that they added to Path of Exile 2 though are way more obvious than Path of Exile 1, at least right now, in my opinion. Like, a swarm of locusts literally flies from. There's a literal signpost that's like, that way, and
That way.
In Path of Exile 1, I'm always like, okay, I gotta look for the corpse by the door. The corpse by the door. Oh my goodness, that's the one that I always go back to. And what is it, like Act 7 or 8? But I like it too. I'm pumped for it, especially because I gotta sharpen my speedrunning skills so I can smash Arrow in an Act 1 race.
Oh, are you racing Arrow?
Well, he said I couldn't beat him, and I got like a. Okay, I got to count Gianor in 46 minutes, and then I couldn't beat him because the importance of a greater life flask. I really did not know how important that was. I was only level 10, so I couldn't equip it. Rough, very rough. But
a GNR.
I learned.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, sad indeed. Very sad trouble. Yeah. What do you guys think about the pseudo campaign guidepost, yellow paint in PoE2?
Smart.
It's good. Yeah, it's just a good addition. I think anything that improves especially the early parts of the campaign. Like as soon as you get your character off the ground, like after like the first act and a half, maybe like 2 acts, you're just kind of cruising anyway if you kind of know where to go.
Yeah.
And I think in those early acts, especially, just like a little bit of that is good. Just sprinkling it in there.
Yeah, I think one of the other things I really like about it is that rookie players aren't going to know these things. They're not going to figure them out. And that means that they're going to overfarm by an experienced player's standards. That means they're going to have more character power than you or I would have at the milestone fights. And so they can then go into Jamanra stronger than we're going to go into Jamanra.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
the real speedrunners are going to go into Jamanra weaker again. But they've then got the experience with the fight and the skill with the particular dynamics of what they do to be able to beat it anyway.
100%. Jamanra is the only boss, by the way, that still is like every league launch. He's been kind of like a challenge in terms of like his health pool. Is that way with you guys, or do you guys usually speed through him? I swear on my builds, he's always like once we're past Jamanra, it's over.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Like if you're not getting the whatever upgrade before it, then it can be it can still be a bit of a struggle. But if you're like managing your currency and stuff well, where you get, let's say you're playing a martial build and you're saving your artificer's orbs and whatnot and for like the right base, then you should be fine. but it really does punish you if you are not diligent with like your currency, and then also if you get a bit unlucky, then you really do suffer on it.
Maybe I'll
It's
keep that
such
to
a good
heart.
fight, though. It's such a
Yes.
fun fight that I don't mind if it takes ages.
Ditto.
Whereas the more dull fights, it's more oppressive. The one thing I do dislike about Jamana and RNG, and this really comes down to runes not being as good a solution as the crafting bench is in one, is that you can just get no lightning resist runes or get only one of them, and that really sucks for Jamana.
Does indeed. No topaz ring drops either. It's like, come on, what's happening
Yeah.
here?
Whereas in one, it would just be if Jamana existed at the end of like about the point that you fight a Zaro, and was a similar sort of really difficult fight that did almost all lightning damage, you could just spend a bunch of really common recurrencies to craft lightning resistance on multiple pieces of gear. You can do that deterministically. There just needs to be some way to deal with the RNG, especially because you're locked out of trade at this point.
So that was my one real, I think, substantive critique of the reveal. I was fine with no swords. I didn't think they were coming or any of that stuff, whatever. It's the Socketables. Lolcohol, I know you said you were very excited for the crafting. I feel like there's too many Socketables in the game, and that it's only going to grow and get more like complex and convoluted. What as a really good crafter, okay, as a guide creator, what's your view on the 350 plus Socketables that will be in the game once this update drops? 350 plus.
It feels like too many, and the justification I didn't really understand in the Q&A, where I think Mark said that, or Jonathan said that they don't want like a long list because it's quite intimidating, but 160 runes. I guess the difference is that when you are presented with every possible option immediately, let's say once you hit Act 2 on a crafting bench, you look at it and you're just overwhelmed. Whereas if you find a single rune and then like another single rune, it kind of like drip feeds you, and then you slowly learn them over time. That's less intimidating.
Right.
But I think once it gets to endgame and crafting and trying to like micromanage all these damn runes, I would imagine that over time, maybe there'll be a system where it's like you find the rune, you use it, and then it like gets sent to your crafting bench as like reusable or something. I don't know. The crafting is not entirely clear, but that's kind of what's exciting about it, is that we're gonna have to get in there and see and discover stuff. And
That's fun.
there are some meta crafting runes that I don't even remember what it does, but when I hear that word, I get happy. So
Yeah, one of the meta runes was can roll time modifiers.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Time modifiers.
Weird.
Chronomancy
I think
modifiers,
on the topic of like
Yeah.
crazy amounts of runes, I think there's definitely a lot of bloat going on there, and I think one of the things that just what Sirgog was talking about there about the Jamana fight and like not having lightning resistance, for example, that's something that PoE1 solves better with the crafting bench, and I feel like there's a solution there in PoE2 that can use a similar system but kind of still stay on course with the runes, and that would be where you can basically use a crafting bench to craft your own basic runes into your gear. And these are not runes that you can then sell on the marketplace, right? They're just, they'd be like the soulbound quest thing, right? Where you just like kind of have a quest thing that you can use, right? But instead, you can just, let's say you got an empty slot on one of your gear pieces and you're coming up from the Jamana fight, you can just go to your crafting bench and craft, lightning res onto your gear, and it takes up a rune slot just like using a rune would do. And maybe if they have that kind of system, they can then like remove a lot of the bloat of these like lower tier runes from the game completely. Because as it is right now, I feel like the runes are kind of trying to fulfill a system in all aspects of the game. Like right from the beginning, they're trying to solve this like, oh, I don't have this gear, I don't have resistances, I don't have attributes, these things, right? And then as you progress into the end game, they want the system to stick around as a more complex way to customize your character with these like really specialized runes, right? And that's when that system, I think, really shines, is when you have the things like you were just talking about there. You have the one on the boots where you can now like slot it in, and it basically permanently modifies the modifiers that boots can actually roll, which is really cool. I just feel like maybe the system is trying to do a bit too much overall, and there's like a much simpler way of doing some of it.
I think if they kind of took your advice, Dreamcore, and that maybe they made their ruins into, a pseudo crafting bench or a new system there, and then left the ability for all like the higher tier stuff to be in the game and used as Socketables, I think that'd be kind of an interesting solution, because I think the big problem in early game is that you're not getting the right runes. Either you're just not getting the right rune drops because the pool is too saturated, or you're just unlucky and it's really causing players to struggle. And I do think a lot of players, I think if they introduce the crafting bench, just like they do with Helena in Path of Exile 1, players would understand that. I think that the initial thing was like, oh, the crafting bench is too complex, right? Okay, well, let's limit it to very specific modifiers that'll just help people craft their basic gear. And then once you transition into the end game, maybe you move away from the crafting bench system, or you can still use it for the basic fire resistance, chaos resistance, and you move to these very complex drop reliant socketables, which I think are fascinating. Maybe a system like that, because I think we're all kind of on the boat, and I think a lot of people are too, that it's just like an early game is really when people are struggling with these, because they're random and you don't have access to trade.
Yeah, and that's when you need it most. Yeah.
Right. I feel, the basic ones, right? And then all those super cool rare ones, okay, have those be drops. I think that's kind of cool, So, yeah. But you're right.
I could do something where you get an attribute rune drop. It's not the dexterity attribute rune. It is just an attribute rune.
Yeah.
And you can choose between the 3 attributes, put the one that matters. Then you get a resistance rune. And these could be quite common things in the early game. And they then solve your build bricking problems. And then later on, you look to replace them with runes, with socketables that do something exciting.
Yeah.
But do you think they need to be drops? Like, this is kind of what I'm trying to get to. Like, do they need to be random drops, or should it be something that you can craft onto your gear and fill the sockets like with other currency, right? Just like how you would with the crafting bench in PoE1. Because, like, as of right now,
because like it's not like you got elks early.
Yeah, probably transmutes, augments, maybe even gold. You might even use gold for that system. I just the way I feel about it right now is just like, it feels like there's a problem there that just literally doesn't need to be there. Like the whole like early game rune resistance thing is just, there's always the same complaints of like, oh, I've got 7 fire runes and no cold runes. And obviously, yes, the thing that you just suggested there, Sirgog, would actually fit, where you're dropping a blank resistance rune. But then you could also make the argument that someone could get unlucky and drop no resistance runes and only drop attribute runes, right? The same complaint would still be there. So I just feel like that whole like base level runes, which is meant to be, they've already said it themselves, like that's kind of the way they want to fill in what the crafting bench was doing in PoE1. Like, I think that's just a better way to do it. The end game stuff with the runes is interesting. That is interesting. They have a lot of ways to like customize and do things with like special things with specific builds, but the early game stuff could just be so much simpler, I think.
Yeah, it does feel like it's overcomplicated, and it's just frustrating. But wouldn't it be fairly easy to tutorialize? What you go find, let's say you kill the executioner in Act 1, and then like this blank rune drops, and Renly's tools are behind him, and you collect it, and then you take it to Renly, and he's like, "Oh, you found my tools." Here, and then he says like, "What is this blank rune?" And he explains it. He says, "Go over to the crafting bench," and then you go there, and there's like 4 things on it. Let's just say there's like a big weapon button and a big like armor button, and it's got like 4 things like cold damage, fire damage, lightning damage, physical damage, and then it's got like resist. Is that too much? Like, is that really too? It's just a bit weird. I understand that you don't want to scare people off, but at the same time, it's Path of Exile, man. And if a list of modifiers, obviously you don't want to introduce that too early, but you can, like you said, you add in just a few, and then you add in a few more, and then you have the rune system late. If you're gonna get scared off by like a list of 10 modifiers, it's gonna be tough out there, because it gets a lot worse.
Okay, and here's the other thing. Something building on that point, Lolcohol. in one of the Jonathan interviews that dropped, I think it was with Legendary Drops, he said something so fascinating that I haven't heard him say in quite some time. And I think it's kind of a shift in just advertisement direction for the game. I think the interviewer asked him something along the lines of, oh, are you scared of, scaring off new players with the complexity and depth of your game? Because obviously that reveal, even though that they were over explaining things, even I was like, oh my gosh, and I've played PoE for 8 years, right? He said, well, we're not necessarily trying to attract a new audience. We're trying to attract the audience of people who would have loved to play Path of Exile 1 a decade ago, but refuse to try it today because it's not a new game. PoE2 is a new game, and they want that depth and complexity in PoE1. They don't necessarily want to turn it into a simple. So I feel like this is such a shift. I'm not crazy. They used to be saying, we want it to be really easy to understand for new players, new genres, never played it. And now they're like, nah, we're going to go full PoE1 and PoE2. And we want to attract the people who just won't play because PoE1 is an old game, right? So, and, he's banging
I think they always...
Oh, go for it.
They did always say, I seem to remember they always said they wanted to keep the complexity there from PoE1, but they wanted to explain the systems better in a way that people could actually get into them, get in on the ground level, right? And then progress upwards.
I think until this update, it wasn't I feel like this is making it kind of as complex as deep as PoE in a lot of ways. I felt that when I was watching them explain all the different crafting systems and talking about Breach and the jewelry and all the different mods you can add to those now and grow. I was like, and then you can put the Breach rings on the Genesis tree to totally get a grasping mail. I was like, oh my God, this is Path of Exile 1 complexity here. That's the first time I felt that in a while. So, but I think you're right. That's the scary thing. I hope they onboard people with these systems properly. I really do. And I think the quest lines will do that. That's kind of shooting in the dark. They didn't really touch on it in the Q&A, but I hope it's not just story in the quests. I hope that it's actually tutorializing kind of all these mechanics and explaining to new players the first time. If they're reading the text, it's all right, when you walk through a mirror of delirium, your map gains a layer of fog on it, and the deeper you go, the stronger, stuff like that. Not just, walk through the mirror of delirium. What happens, happens. Right? That's kind of how it is right now. So I think you're right. Rant over.
We agree.
I mean, I think PoE2 is already doing a lot of that better, and that's something that was one of their main focuses with PoE2 compared to PoE1 is that they wanted to improve the whole onboarding process, and they've definitely done that with a lot of aspects of the game already. So I expect them to do more and more of that as the game moves forward.
Yeah, base endgame with Doriani explaining. I think that's a great job. When you first get to maps in 0.4, right now, I'm sure that's going to happen in 0.5 and the campaign too. I feel that way as well. Totally. So, okay. Well, guys, we talked a lot about 0.5, but I think we'd be remiss to not discuss what also is coming after, which was confirmed by Grinding Gear Games, and that's the March to 1.0 full release, the leaving of paid access and into free to play access, which will be in either November or December of this year. They just said after ExileCon. They didn't promise a date. ExileCon week 1 of November, and then we're in 1.0. And between now and then, there's going to be some interesting stuff happening. Potentially some mini leagues with lots of balance passes, maybe tiny bits of new content, but nothing major added. 0.5 is the last content patch before 1.0. Lolcohol, what are your first thoughts on that? What grew up in your stomach as you heard Jonathan say that?
I was right. No, I figured that was the case because that's what I thought. It makes sense. They've got either they're going to do this league and then another league and then launch. But what else could ExileCon be about, right? They're not going to do ExileCon if it's not for 1.0. So the thing that blew me away was this announcement was so gigantic, and they said that 1.0 is going to be bigger. And I don't know if that's just purely going to be, that's going to presumably be a couple of new classes. I think, Jonathan, I read an article somewhere where he said he doesn't think all the new classes need to be in the game at launch. And there will be the new campaign, which will probably translate into new endgame areas, and then what else? I don't know what because they've now got another 6 months before launch, and I can't even perceive what it's going to be, but I'm very excited for it. Are you guys? You're going to ExileCon, right? Try and GOG and Dreamcore.
I am, yeah.
You are, and
Probably am. Yeah, I've got to just. It is a budgeting thing, but like GGG did reach out with a free ticket for me, but it's only the entry fee. So
yeah, I got the same.
It's like I mean, I'm closer than you guys are. It's like maybe $1,700-$1,800 to go there. That's Australian. And I've just got a budget whether I can do it or not. I think I can.
Yeah, it's the flight time. That's just the biggest turnoff. It's so
I'm just gonna get a Steam Deck.
I am not looking forward to that, dude. That's gonna be bad.
Have you done those flights before? Oh god.
I mean, I've been to like LA or something like that, which is like half the duration. I think less than half the duration. So I think the total flight time with the layover is like 29.5 hours or something. I think for me.
Oh,
my nightmare trip was longer than that in '99. It was Bucharest to London Gatwick, bus from London Gatwick to London Heathrow, London Heathrow to Singapore, Singapore to Adelaide, Adelaide to Melbourne.
That doesn't sound fun.
My strategy for dealing with this, keep in mind I'm 17 at the time, so like my strategy for dealing with it was to starve myself almost completely of sleep for 3 nights beforehand. So in the 3 nights leading up to it, I had a total of 7 hours sleep, very deliberately, so that I could fall asleep during takeoff out of Bucharest, and then do the same thing during takeoff out of like almost all the time I was in London. Only time I've ever been there, I was asleep.
A good strategy. Pretty good. I'll try to do that.
No, that'll kill me. I think
Sleep starve myself.
I
will have a newborn.
I just can't sleep on flight, so.
Dude, I will have a newborn, so I might actually be sleep starved. So, yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so between...
What are you expecting for 1.0?
Act 5-6. I think that Act 5-6, new league, one class. It sounded to me like they hadn't even really dove into swords or duelists, guys. When Ziggy asked, I mean, they were like, whoa. We were focused on the end game. It's the same people who work on like the end game as the new class balance and all that stuff. So I would only expect one class end game. I'm sure a bunch of like, unique items on the par of what we're getting now, where they open up new play styles. And then Act 5 and 6. I think Act 5 and 6 are really big because of the way they trickle down into the rest of the game. And just finally having that finished campaign is just going to be so huge as a lore nerd. So
I reckon they're definitely going to have one of swords and axes in 1.0.0. I wouldn't be surprised if there are 2 classes. This may not be swords plus axes. I think they only really need one of those 2. They need to have some non-monk melee that is not super slow. So once you've got that, you can then potentially have a second class. You've got Act 5, you've got Act 6. And in an additional endgame mechanic that is exciting to new players and probably a minimalist league.
I think so. For 1.0, I think what we're going to see is, obviously Acts 5 and 6. That's already a shoe-in. That's like a guarantee. Beyond that, I definitely expect Templar, because I think they're going to want to package that with the whole Oriath thing. That's something that I really do expect. I think there might be 2 classes for 1.0. I think that's going to be like, if you think about like a lot of the content stuff that they've been working on, we probably should expect that most, if not all, of the campaign is done. At least they're probably doing a lot of like finishing touches things, because you got to remember, like, how long we're into early access now already. Like, initially the whole campaign was meant to be there, right? And then they like cut it off 3 months early, right, and started working on like endgame stuff. So I really do think that they're gonna have, like, there will be at least one class. Let's put it like that, and then maybe they might get 2 in there. When I think about like the kind of core fantasy things that they want to cover, swords is definitely there, because right now they kind of have a bit of a, like GOG was touching on there, the melee stuff is a little bit weird right now. You don't really have there's a lot of things that feel like they're missing in a way. So yeah, adding in swords will be one thing, and then I think the whole Templar.
You guys are...
What else do I think they'll do? Like I think they might try and do like a PoE1 favorite league mechanic reinvented in PoE2. Maybe even if it's like an old one, it could be like a Legion or something like that. Just something where it's like they already know that it's going to be something that people are going to like, right? Because like Legion is just like that one favorite thing. Like people just love it, right? So they might do like a spin on that. And of course, there's got to be Trial of the Ancestors. Like what it?
No,
guys.
Mark said a coin flip.
Guys, Trial of the Ancestors not being in for 3 patches in a row and over a year of development is insane, actually. Like, actually insane.
Do you think they don't know what they want to do with it? Like, if they want to keep it auto-battle-y, if they want, like, is that the problem? Or,
it could be. It could be that they're struggling with it. I don't know. Like, but I find it absolutely bizarre that, like, the act was added in 0.3, right? And then it was like, okay, they didn't. And then 0.4 and it's not there, and 0.5 0.5 we've been waiting for like almost 6 months for this league and it's still not there.
And it's fascinating because one of the biggest points of feedback that I still see, and I've seen it since 0.1 week 1, the Trials of Ascension suck. I hate both of them. I want a new way to ascend, and those aren't getting like any changes, it sounded like, in this league. So
those people will hate Trial. They'll hate Toto too. I bet you $100. 90% of the people who say, "Oh, I need Tota so that I can enjoy Ascendancy," they're going to hate it as well. They'll probably hate it even more.
That because I think
you disagree.
I think the major complaint people have with them is the amount of dead time that's involved when you're not fighting monsters. Whichever one of the two that you choose to ascend with, there is so much walking around. And actually, they got a lot better when they added Sprint. Sprint was the S tier change when it came to the Trials of Ascendancy.
Sekima takes so long. I think people need to get good with Sekima. Trial of Chaos, a lot of downtime.
That's my point.
Sekima
is like, there's nothing wrong with it. They are going to hate it because it's a thing they have to do, and it's gonna be probably not that easy to do, and they're gonna suck, and they're gonna hate it.
Sirgog, I'm pretty sure that Jonathan confirmed that after every round of Tota, there will be a 3-minute victory speech from the winning team. So, like, in between the 17 rounds that you need to ascend, there will be 17 times 3, whatever the math is there, of downtime. What is that? 58 minutes, 48 minutes? I don't know. I can't do math. Of downtime. So,
sounds great.
A lot of combat,
but
lore. Also lots of lore drops. Yes, well, Hinekora will be giving us prophecies after every round to the victor. So, it'll be good.
Any of you guys played Final Fantasy VI? Do you remember the opera scene from it?
No. What is it? A really long sequence that you can't skip?
It's actually, it was well received at the time, but it is basically a massive lore dump that requires you to answer certain questions correctly during it. It's done well. So this sounds terrible, but it was actually well received, and it's just like, I'm just imagining that now. So you've got like Hinekora gives a speech about how, something about the realm of the dead, and then you get asked a question and you only get to ascend if you get them all right, and you don't find out whether you've made a mistake until the end.
Now this is good. Kitten Cat Noodle works at GGG now. She loved Hinekora and that whole Tota. This all pans out. She just joined recently, so that's why Tota has been pushed development-wise. She needs time to create the test that you need to ascend.
So trial of the Ancestors, it's no combat, it's just going to be a pop quiz.
Test
for like
of the Ancestors.
Hour.
Yep, test of the Ancestors.
I love it. And they can change it every league just so that you have to like re-listen to the whole hour-long thing. Okay.
Dreamcore is rubbing his eyes in pain right now. He's like, oh.
I told you, everyone's going to hate it. Well, not everyone.
In between now and then, right, though, they also hinted at mini leagues? Almost Freesia style. Oh wow, Sirgog, double thumbs up. What is it? You like it? Happy?
Yeah, this balance league idea I'm just going to call it 051, 052. I've sung the praises of this when I was doing my live stream discussion other time. This is going to allow so many problems to be solved with game balance, and it's also going to allow just fresh starts. Fresh starts are always the most fun time for many players. Obviously, they're opt-in, so some people will disagree with that, and those players will stay in 050, or maybe they'll have been dumped into standard by then, but they'll be able to keep playing their character. But this is just going to be fantastic. There'll be fresh starts. There'll be new interest in theory crafting. Pretty much, it's just it's a league start, but minus new content to discover. It's going to be fantastic, I reckon.
I'm happy for the balance patches relatively soon after another league. I mean, this is what I think a lot of people expected with PoE2 to have like constant balance patches, and it sounds like there will be maybe 2, maybe 3 in this gap of 7 months between 0.5 and the ultimate release of 1.0. So I think will be a good thing. We'll get to maybe see Cast On addressed. It'll be interesting to see the patch notes, because it almost sounded like not a lot of changes might be happening with Cast On for this particular patch. So it'll be fascinating. I'm pumped.
Hard to say what balance is coming in this patch, to be honest with you. Like they didn't really discuss that much in the way of balance on the Q&A. They kind of surface level went over it, but it's like, and they did mention obviously that they've been more focused on content rather than balance for this patch. But that doesn't mean that they haven't got in there and fix some of the stuff. So we'll have to just wait and see.
Knock some things over, and we get the patch notes on May 21st. What are the odds we get another surprise drop? And I'm not talking about a class, guys. You guys are crazy. There's no shadow or duelist being shadow dropped. I more so mean like another ascendancy, like the Disciple of Varashta, how that was dropped like 2 days before, like the Arcane Archer. Do you guys think the odds on that are likely?
Maybe?
Thoughts?
Could be.
I don't know how likely it is, actually, with that. I mean, they did... I saw one of the devs post on Twitter that they have like crazy amount of content for this patch, but they still have a couple of weeks left of cooking. So maybe that was like a hint of something else being like close to done. I don't know.
Zaki's making another boss.
It could be like another ascendancy. I mean, the Ranger one was already data mined, right? So I think that one's probably closest. We haven't heard anything about the Druid one, right? So
nothing.
Yeah, see, what I think happened with the Disciple of Varashta was that they had a deadline to get it ready before the live stream announcement for 040, and it wasn't ready. So there was a milestone slippage there. A decision was made. We don't mention this, and we just try to get it in, but we don't know that we're going to get it in. I think that's what happened. That's the story of it. So whether that's the case or not, no idea. Whether there's new ascendancies like the Abyssal Lich, also who knows about that too.
Jonathan teased a monk ascendancy changing, I believe, when you interact with Chayula in the new Breach quest line. So maybe there's something there. An acolyte or maybe a master of Chayula. Not an acolyte. Once you meet Chayula, you gain some power or something.
I'd love to see them do more of those. The Abyssal Lich is a really cool idea, like the actual just basic idea of that, like the ascendancy changing when it interacts with a mechanic and not. Because I remember when that got added, and there was a bunch of people saying like, there's going to be a version for every class and every of course, like that's just something they've added now. And there's like, no, it's very specific to particular content where it makes sense.
Love it.
And of course, it's not like a full ascendancy. Like it's like maybe like half or maybe even less. Could even be that it just changes one node, and that one node is really impactful. But I just think that the idea of that is really cool going forward. Just like you sprinkle these little bits of like extra customization in there. It's good. Like
the Runesmith of Kitava or the Ritualist, just possibility. Hopefully. Okay. Just to close us off, guys, with the podcast here, as we're winding down, we obviously have 3 weeks in the interim. You guys doing anything fun, exciting, game-wise, non-game-wise? Playing some TTRPGs, Sirgog? Anybody? There's Mother's Day tomorrow. Oh, Pathfinder. What's that? Here, let me...
yeah, that wasn't the thing. I'll let everyone else answer.
Here you go. How about this? How about this, Sirgog? Huh? That's what you actually want to do. The OG. That's what I have over here. Might be delving into that a little bit.
Are we allowed to play other games for the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, like Diablo 4.
Yeah. I know we're probably going to be writing a lot of guides. I don't know what kind of content people are looking for, because there's like, I've seen videos, recaps. it kind of feels like unless you're Rax or like no one's watching recap videos,
Well, so here's the thing: like, you can't do build guide because we don't have patch
No.
notes. So there's no build guides. And then there's going to be, I think there'll be a lot of videos of people like going over the progression, like from what they've explained in the stream for each league mechanic. There'll be some of that. I mean, I'm just going to be. I've got the podcast returning for this patch, so I'm going to be doing that bit of that on my channel, and I think I'll probably just be talking about some of the unique items and things like that, because they did actually, they show in that reveal, they showed off more unique items than I expected them to. You know, when they had like the unique section, usually they only show like 2 or 3. They just rallied through like 7 or 8 of them in a row, which is pretty cool. And obviously they have quite a few still to go there, so yeah, I'll probably just be talking about that in some videos.
So you brought back forgotten uniques. You need to do like unforgotten uniques or something.
I did, yeah. I did start doing. I mean, to be honest with you, I could be doing forgotten uniques for PoE2 because like there are a bunch of uniques that like nobody ever uses, right? So
true.
Yeah.
A bunch of which are really cool, but like so many are just squeezed out by being an amulet that doesn't have plus skills, or being a weapon that doesn't have plus skills, or like that's or being boots that don't have boots that don't have movement speed would be the same, but I don't think they've made any of those. Those items may as well.
Yeah, they just
not
have
exist.
a real stranglehold. Like those gem level modifiers, they have a mega stranglehold on like how useful a unique can be. Like they've made some really interesting uniques as well in PoE2. It's such a shame.
Maybe with the Runes of Eldur bringing the base mods up, maybe that'll help. But like you said, we have no idea how powerful it'll be. So
yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for that, because
Ditto.
they showed a few of them, and the ones that they did show are items that I don't think you would like. They would have to be really strong to consider using anyway. Like the actual like modifiers on, like for example, they showed the talisman. I already used that talisman in my build, but it was a weapon swap thing where like you gain a bunch of action speed or like skill speed, I should say, from like using that weapon swap feature. I think even if that had like decent damage, you probably still wouldn't use it as like a base weapon, because it kind of benefits that whole setup of just like using it as utility. But I'm more interested in seeing how that's going to affect the items that were already kind of interesting, where you were like, oh, I might be able to use that, but then I just can't reasonably make this decision and use that, because like it's just that's how I feel right now in PoE2. It's like, here's like a really cool item that I want to use, and it's absolutely the incorrect decision to use it. Like that's how I feel. So I think in this patch, if they can make it so that they blurred the lines there a little bit, where it's like, oh, I actually feel like I can use this, and it's a reasonable decision to make to actually use this, that would be really good. If they've just towed the line there in terms of balance, like right through the middle, then that's gonna be good.
Or hear me out. You use, I think it's the Rune of Olroth or whatever, to rip out the good unique modifier and slot it into a plus gem level weapon, or movement speed boots. Ba-bam. There you go.
Very Diablo 3 of you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
That sounds
hey,
sick.
chill out. Come on. I'm going to outfit myself in Kalguur uniques just so I can do that. That's not going to be rare at all either, guys. I'm sure that rune will drop in plentiful values. All right, so we've got Dreamcore uniquing and podcasting, Lolcohol guide writing. Sirgog, what are you going to do between now and the big launch?
So I'm really looking forward to just not having the time pressure that I usually do in the period pre-launch, because I always put out my videos on all the news that comes out, and there's going to be this whole bunch of time where I can actually go back into the live stream announcement and do deep dives into parts of it. So I put up my good, bad, and the ugly thing just about the time this podcast was starting, and that was sort of just going through some of my picks for things that were really good in it, some that didn't quite meet my expectations. Like my expectations have been higher, like the Duelist, and then sort of going through a bunch of things people might have missed as well, like the Delirium dual crafting and stuff like that. So I want to do a bunch of things that are like narrow sort of sections of the announcement. So that's a Path of Exile related thing. I will probably de-rust a little bit in Path of Exile 2 because I was terribly rusty last time. I didn't get any time to play Path of Exile 2 in the 2 weeks leading up to launch, and I didn't think to play it before that. And other than that, I've got a fiction side project I've been working on for a while that is going to continue being worked on that is nerdy, but not Path of Exile specific. Although it does take some inspiration from Cast on Critical Strike builds.
Oh, really? Of course. Of course.
Because, like, have you ever seen a fiction character that has anything akin to Cast on Critical Strike? It just feels appropriate for any sort of fiction. Like, it feels perfect, but it just doesn't really exist.
Is this your sci-fi project?
True.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Like, yeah, it's sort of in the science fantasy lit RPG genre world. So
Very
that's been
nice.
something I've been working on. That's been kind of obsessed in my mind for like sort of a bit of an obsession for a while.
Yeah, I feel the same way with my D&D world, which has
Yeah.
been remiss in the past little while, unfortunately. But I've been writing a little bit. We'll get some D&D cooking, I'm sure, in this 6-month gap between 0.5 and 1.0. Maybe. Well, everybody watching in the live chat or on the VOD, make sure you go and check out all these guys on their respective channels, see their little side projects and the like, and make sure. It sounds like there will be some guide writing for Mobalytics. No build guides yet, though. We're not those kind of creators, you guys. But when
It's
the
more
patch
like
notes,
informational.
guys. When the patch notes hit, though, all the stuff will be up on Mobalytics. I'm sure we'll be able to integrate it with the new build planner feature for Path of Exile 2. So make sure you go check everybody out on that site. And thank you to Mobalytics for juicing up this podcast. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate all you guys for tuning in early on this Saturday morning. Have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Mother's Day tomorrow, and we'll see you about a week after launch for the next Pod of Exile. Farewell, Exiles.
Bye.